everybody, welcome in. It's Sharpening the Edge on the Maize and Blue Review. I'm Dennis Fithian, and it's great to be joined by the fellow crew at the Maize and Blue Review, and that is Lucus Reimink and Brandon Justice, who are on the screen and on the line, ready to make some picks. Guys, how are you?
Doing good.
Doing well. Ready to go.
Okay, well, Lucas sounded like he was more ready to go, so let's jump right into it. If it's the first time you're joining us, we make 9 picks across the board from Michigan, Michigan State, the Lions. We give you 3 winners in either college or pro. We've got a parlay, we've got a prop, and we got a lock of the week. That's a lot to get to. Before we go right to Lucas and his selection, I should tell everybody that last week I was 2-5. But the good news is that I hit my lock, which put me at 500 on the year. So things are looking up in those regards. So I feel good about it. All right, with that, we'll have everybody give their tally from a week ago, and we'll start with Lucas, who is going to pick this Michigan to Michigan State game. The line is stayed there; they've dipped down a little bit, but I looked recently, 23 points. Michigan's favored by. That's a gigantic number, Lucas. What are you thinking about here?
Yeah, I don't know. The rivalry aspect of this makes me think 23 is too much, but I get that. If you go by power ratings, all the stats would kind of point towards that big of a number. To me, I don't know. The reason I'm going to side with MSU in the points here is, to me, I think Thorne looks like a different quarterback when Jaden Reed is in there and when he's healthy. I think Thorne and Keon Coleman can have at least moderate success throwing those 50-50 balls against these DBs. Specifically, DJ Turner is probably the guy that they're going to go towards quite a bit in this game. And then Jacob Slade is their best defensive tackle. He's their best run-stuffing player on the defensive line. He's going to be back for MSU. I think that makes a big difference in their rushing defense. Not that they're going to win this game because Thorne and Slade are now back and healthy and playing. I just think 23 is too much. So I'll take MSU plus the 23 in the rivalry game.
All right. Brandon Justice has been looking at the numbers, and he has been on fire overall picking these games the last 2 weeks. So you really want to make sure you're listening to what he has to say. Justice, how do you see this game? Is 23 too many?
So 5-2 last week is my record, and I did not have enough time to put anything in my hair, so don't mind my constant hair touching. It's just going to be a thing today only, I promise. Yeah, so 89% of the money's on Michigan State, but the number just continues to move with Michigan. And not every time we've seen that this year, and I wish we could keep track of one singular system, which would be the smart thing to do, right? But more times than not, we're winning when we're taking teams that are on the other side of the movement, despite being on the other side of the money. So Michigan is out to 23.5 in most markets, despite 89% of the cash being on MSU. And a lot of that cash came in at 22.5, 21.5 even, but really most of it came at 22.5. And then it's hard to tell where this is going to go because it's at 22.5 now, I think, to 23.5. But the key numbers are 24 and 21, and anything in between that is more or less the same. I think you're kind of just floating in a neutral zone at that point. So I don't think this line has really done anything substantial to tell us one way or the other. It hasn't dipped below 20.5. It hasn't gone over 24. So there's not a whole lot we can gather from what Vegas is projecting. But other projection services are right around this one being kind of like a 1-point value pick, give or take, depending on the service. One projection, Tyler Shoemaker, who has been really good this year, projecting has Michigan as a 25.5-point favorite. So if you're looking for an edge there, it's where you'll find it. I'm more so on the total. I think it's going to go over 55, which is where it's at now. And sharps and the big money are all over the over as well. Not in a substantial 89, 94% way that Michigan State's money is in, but the line is moving with the money, which is more encouraging on this side. So I'd rather bet on points because I think this game can get glitchy sometimes. Like any rivalry game, we'll see weirder things in this game. I'm fine rooting for offense when there are the playmakers out there like Jaden Reed and Blake Corum and the like. So I will take the over at 55.
Glitchy, a popular word this week in Michigan circles. All right. I'm looking at how these two teams have played this year. And one thing about Michigan State is when I watch them take on Washington. They're getting the doors blown off after 3 quarters, but they got some late points to make it look a little better. They're getting shut out against Minnesota. They got a late touchdown to avoid the shutout. Ohio State was killing them, and they took their foot off the gas, and then State got a couple, by the way, scores. And I think that's the way this one's going to go. I think Michigan will get out to a 38-10 lead, but I think in the fourth quarter, Michigan will call the dogs off, and I can see the Spartans getting a late one, which is the old backdoor cover, and that's how I think it's going to go down. I have Michigan winning this game handily, but I have State plus that 23. 38-17 is the score that I'm looking at. Let's go to the pros. The Lions were a big disappointment last week. They were going in to score in the fourth quarter, and then they fumbled on the goal line with a running back that never fumbles. But here they come back home, and they are taking on the Dolphins, and the Lions are a home 3.5-point dog. Let's go back. It's worked for us so far. Lucas on the selection, Lions and Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm going to ride with the Dolphins here, -3.5. I will say the Lions defense did look better following the bye week. Just the run fits seemed to be better and tighter, but I don't see the Lions offense being able to keep pace with the Dolphins passing attack, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle and company. So I'll take Dolphins -3.5. It does seem like Swift is going to be back, so that'll be a boost for the offense, but Amon-Ra is kind of questionable. I'm not sure he'll play. Still a guy or two out on the offensive line. So those are a couple more reasons why I like the Dolphins here to cover 3.5.
Fish -3.5. Justice, do you agree?
I am on the total. I just love overs this week. It's hard to not take the over here. I don't care what the number is. It's at 51.5 right now. I just wanted to get an update on it. It hasn't moved much. It's at, let's see here. I mean, it's pretty much stuck at 51.5. So I just wanted to get an update there. There really hasn't been much movement. So we've stuck there. As far as the money and the sharps go, though, I mean, 86% of the money is on the over, 43% of bets are on it. So there's a pretty telling discrepancy there. And the matchup and the game flow and the script of the game, it all plays into it. I mean, I expect this game to be a bit of a shootout, maybe a slow start in the first half and a can of worms opens up in the second half, similar to what happened earlier this season with the Lions and the Eagles a bit and the Commanders as well. But I think with the high octane style that Miami brings, it's good. Like Jared Goff, I feel like against this team, especially with Xavier Howard potentially out, I think he'll have a better day after the day he had last week. Amon-Ra is back. DeAndre Swift is back. Just feels like a good day. I mean, Tua's healthy. Like, feels like it's like a get back right game for both of these offenses. So I'll take the over at 51.5.
I agree with your assessment there. I have the score 31-30, but I have the Lions winning it. This is a spot where the Lions historically, everybody counts them out and they're ready to start talking about, draft position, and then the Lions get home and shock you. They've done this a million times. I'd add the Seahawks as well as one of those race car games earlier this year. But yeah, a lot of scoring on each side. I don't think the Lions are going to be able to stop the two wideouts, as you mentioned, with Hill and Waddle, but I'm hoping the sun god plays. I'm taking the Lions. I'll be picking them on the money line, but I'll take the 3.5 because, I want to get a W here as well. So I'll take the Lions outright. Let's go back down to Lucas. He's got 3 games that he's sitting on and ready to tell everybody about to bet because he's going to be betting them this weekend. What 3 did you pick, Lucas?
Sure. I've got kind of like arguably the 3 biggest games of the weekend here on the dock. So I'm curious to see if you guys are going to, probably Justice would be the one to fight me on a couple of these. We'll see. I'll start off. I'm going to go with Tennessee -12. Kentucky is coming off a bye, so that could be problematic, I suppose. And it's a little bit of a look ahead spot for Tennessee. They play Georgia next week. I just haven't seen a whole lot of Will Levis in Kentucky's offense this year. Their offensive line, they used to be kind of a staple of the program. They really wanted to run the ball, cram the ball down opponents' throats, and play good defense. Their offensive line coach now at Bama, their offensive line just hasn't looked the same to me. The strength of this Tennessee defense is the front 7, so I think they'll be able to stall out Chris Rodriguez and the Kentucky rushing attack. And I just think on the other side, there's no way that Kentucky can possibly stay in front of all these receivers. Cedric Tillman is going to be back for Tennessee. He's their best receiver. He's been out for like a month and a half now. So he'll join the other receivers. Jalen Hyatt's been going off. Even Ramel Keaton has had a couple big games. So I think there's too much firepower there for Tennessee. Even though it's a look-ahead spot, a little bit of a tricky game, sort of a trap game, I think they can cover the 12. And then I'll go Georgia, minus 22.5, lay the points against the Florida Gators. This one's kind of just like a Anthony Richardson play for me. I'm just fading Anthony Richardson. He looked really good, really impressive in that week 1 game against Utah. If any of you guys watched that. And then since then, it's kind of fallen off a cliff. He's got 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions now in the season, throwing the ball. I think this Georgia defense is good enough to contain the Florida rushing attack. That's kind of what Florida likes to do on offense, is just run the football. I don't see them having a ton of success going against the Georgia front 7. The way you get yards and points against this Georgia defense, to me, is the secondary. I don't think Florida is going to be able to take advantage of that. So I will take Georgia 22.5. I'm thinking like a 35-10, 38-10 type of game there. And then I will go to big noon kickoff. I'm going to take Penn State plus the 15. It's mostly observation. I don't think Ohio State has played a quarterback yet that has been good enough to give them a challenge. And I think the way to score against Ohio State is the secondary. We heard a lot last year, like Ohio State's defense, they're so much better now that they changed coordinators. And then we're hearing it again this year. They brought in Jim Knowles from Oklahoma State. A lot of people are talking about how Ohio State's defense is a lot better than they have been in years past. I think that's mostly a product of the schedule at this point. They really haven't played a passing attack in the top 50s. Penn State, if you look at like yards per attempt, those sort of things, is like top 30, top 35. Passing attack looked like they got things rolling last week at home against Minnesota. They got the tight ends involved. Nick Singleton had a good game. They got a couple good receivers who I think can make some plays on the outside. And then on the other side, I think Penn State also has a good enough secondary. Not that they're going to totally slow down Ohio State's passing attack, but they have a couple NFL players in that secondary that at least can make plays of their own if given the opportunity to do so. I don't think Penn State's going to win. Weird things happen. I get it. Penn State's played Ohio State close the last few years. I've just taken them to cover. So as long as that's over 14.5, I'll take the Nittany Lions there to cover.
I would agree that those are the 3 biggest games. The Levis Hooker showdown. Everybody's talking about Young and Stroud, but those are the next 2 quarterbacks. Those guys could be both in the top 10. So it's almost like you have to watch that one just to watch the quarterbacks play. I like the selections. I will be going up against one of them. That's a tease, because first we're going to Justice for his trio of picks. Let's see if he likes or goes against any of your big games.
Starting in the Big Ten here, Nebraska at home against Illinois. I've been on Illinois like all year, but I actually like the Huskers here at 7.5. Anytime you can get over a touchdown, I like it. I mean, you're under or you're over a key number, which is 7, so you're protected by a touchdown here with that hook. So I like that. The Action Network is projecting it at 3.5, so you've got a ton of value there. Like I said, Nebraska is at home. Illinois plays a slow pace, a lot of ball control. Even if Illinois wins, I like them to win by like that 3-7 mark. That's why I think that projection at 3.5 is more indicative of Illinois' play and game flow and script more so than it is the talent discrepancy between those 2 teams, because I do think Illinois is better. So won't be getting on the Huskers money line, but I do think that they're going to cover. Going over to the Big 12, Baylor and Texas Tech. I got over 61 here. The line's moving down, but it projects on Action Network at 68.1. So you're looking like you're getting a lot of points there. Obviously, there's never, I don't think 7 points of an edge is really applicable here, but you're still getting a ton of room on a game that Baylor was scoring at will last week. They've been scoring lately. Texas Tech is just like an annual scoring fest in Lubbock every year. So take the over at 61. Wyoming and Hawaii taking the under at 50.5. There hasn't been much movement at the line, but it projects at 44.9. So you've got a lot of room there. The last 3 totals were set for Wyoming at 44.5, 37, and 42.5. So getting a 50.5 total is pretty advantageous, not to mention the 1 and 2 in those 3. Wyoming hasn't scored more than 28 points in the last 5 games. Hawaii unders are 4-1 of the last 5, and their last 3 totals were at 45.5, 48.5, and 52. So it's a gift to get this line at 50.5, I think. So take the under there. So those are my three: Wyoming, Hawaii under 50.5, Baylor, Texas Tech over 61, and Nebraska 7.5 laying the points.
Well, I feel good because I agree with you on one in one of my trio of picks. Cody is agreeing, it looks like, with Lucas on both of his Michigan State and Penn State selections, plus the points. I like to kick my trio of games off. I like Oklahoma State. I like how they've looked all year long, and you only have to give up 1.5. They're going into K-State. I like the Cowboys. Give me the Cowboys plus 1.5 at K-State. Let's go. Ohio State. I'm going to differ from Lucas here. Penn State, I know they came back home and looked halfway decent, but I think 14.5, that game to me looks more like I would need like 21 before I would go with Penn State. So I'll lay the points and take the Buckeyes. And I agree with Justice. I will take the 7.5 with Nebraska, with Illinois. Illinois, ball control, good running game, want to play defense, but Nebraska at home, I think they can keep that one close enough in a very low-scoring game. Give me the Cornhuskers plus 7.5. All right, we still have a lock, a parlay, and a prop to get to. Let's go back to Lucas. You want to go to parlay or prop? I'll let you take the choice.
Let's go prop. That's more fun. I'm going to go JJ over the passing yards total. 215.5 is what I saw it at. To me, this is mostly a game plan related thing. A lot of people have said this. I'm not the first one to say it. I think Michigan State's going to try and slow down the rushing attack as much as they possibly can. I think they're going to, basically with their game plan, go to JJ and say, hey, if you can beat us with your arm, we'll tip your cap to you. I think he's going to be able to do that. Maybe it's a deep shot or two. I think he'll get over the 215.5. It's not a super large total. I kind of thought it'd be bigger given that Michigan State's passing defense is really, really bad. But I get it. Michigan runs the ball a lot. So I just think he hits a deep shot. I think he gets over the 215.5 passing yards.
I like it. Let me jump in before Justice gives his to break the order, because I also, when I was thinking about going with Quorum over the 116, but I'm thinking about Michigan State. They got to pick their poison. I'm going to make J.J. McCarthy beat me if I'm on the Michigan State side. He will beat him, but I'm going to have to. I'm not going to let Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards run wild. I'm going to make McCarthy have to do it with his arm, so I'll take the over 215.5 for my prop as well. Justice.
I am sticking with taking backup running backs against the Lions to go over in their yardage. So I'm taking Chase Edmonds. I'm trying to figure out what his yardage is consensus. I had something different earlier in the week, so it's not going to be applicable to today's show. Of course, I can't find it. Yeah, I'm taking the over in yardage for Chase Edmonds. I don't know what that number is right now because I had it earlier in the week, but taking the over in Chase Edmonds for rushing yards because, again, the same reason I used last week. The Lions' rush D is just really bad. I know it looked better last week, but it still didn't look great. And Chase Edmonds is right around 22.5 or something. So yeah, I'm going to take Edmonds over his yardage. I don't know why I cannot see it on my app here.
I'll see if I can find it. Why don't you give us your parlay?
My parlay is going three ways in college football. I got East Carolina plus 135. We're about to talk about them. I just love them against BYU. Kansas State minus 122 in the money line against Oklahoma State. Kansas State's getting a ton of action this weekend again after failing last week, of course, without Adrian Martinez. This week, Adrian Martinez expected to play. They're 1.5-point favorites at home against Oklahoma State, and they're getting a lot of backing. They were one of my picks, but opted to keep them out off the slip here on the show, but will have them on personal slip. And then Notre Dame money line against Syracuse. They're at even odds as a pick 'em plus 105, but a lot of action has come in on Notre Dame. So I like those three there, plus 135, minus 122, and plus 105 as a three-way parlay for college football Saturday. All under 150, but again, I'm more so in the world of attainable parlays. So that's what we're shooting for there.
DraftKings they have Mostert over 65.5. So I'll put the over and under on Chase Edmonds. I'll put it at 28.5. So you're still going with it?
Sure. Why not? Let's go.
There you go. All right, let's go to the parlay from Lucas, who said he thinks props are more fun. I disagree, but let's see where you're at with your parlay.
Well, maybe it's just because I haven't hit a parlay all year, so I keep changing it up. I try a different strategy every week, so hopefully this one will work. I'm gonna do college football moneyline parlay as well. A couple different teams to justice. I got Arkansas to beat Auburn. KJ Jefferson is back and healthy now for the Razorbacks at quarterback. Even though this game is at Auburn, I just don't think Auburn has a ton of life right now. Brian Harson's their head coach. It seems like the writing's on the wall that he's going to be fired eventually, maybe at the end of the year, maybe sooner than that. Who knows? But it sounds like he's gone. They had a couple players jump in the transfer portal this week. Their best wide receiver was one of them. So it sounded to me like that was like I don't really want to play for you anymore type situation. So I'll jump in the portal and see if the next coach can convince me to come back. And that's their best receiver. So that's going to be problematic for an offense that already can't really score points. So I think Arkansas is going to win at Auburn. I got Minnesota to beat Rutgers. Part of the line was 14. I just need them to win here because Tanner Morgan's not like a sure thing to play. I think Tanner Morgan's going to play, but even if he doesn't, I still think the backup quarterback at home is going to have enough to beat Rutgers. I don't know. Rutgers just really struggles offensively. Minnesota's defense has gotten banged up. The last few weeks, they've kind of struggled themselves, but I think against the Rutgers offense, it's not that good on the road. I like Minnesota to win that game. And then I'm going to go to Tennessee just to beat Kentucky. I think they're going to be able to do it. It's at home. 12-point spread. I just need them to win for this parlay. I talked about a lot of the reasons why I like Tennessee to cover as well. I'll just take them to win here in this parlay. Combine those three plus 130. So hopefully we'll hit one this week. We'll see.
That sounds like a winner, man. All those three things seem like they can happen. Well, for me, I go against what Justice had to say. I'm going with a big fat 16 Big 10, Big 12 parlay special this week. I've got Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. There's your Big 12, 3 teams. And then I'm going Ohio State, Rutgers, and Nebraska. I'm taking the points or laying the points in all of those games. You know where they're at. But Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Ohio State, Rutgers, and Nebraska. A 6-teamer. And if you look, if that comes in 47-41, and I do sound confident when I pick the parlays because I did hit one, an underdog 4-teamer back in week 3, which is, just made me really cocky about the parlays back. And I feel good about hitting them, regardless what they're going to do. And I just like firing off on the parlays. Parlay. Let's go. But I feel good about that one. I also feel good about Lucas's parlay. Nothing against you, Justice. Let's go. Your sparkling picks also include doing really well when it comes to your lock of the week. For that selection, where are you going?
I am keeping it on the East Coast and going to East Carolina. I like ECU. They're actually at BYU, so that geographical explanation really made no sense, but the team is from there. So anyway, out west we go. I like ECU. They're getting over a field goal here, plus 3.5. Love that it's above the hook. The projections are all over ECU at 1.5 or better. And BYU is 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 games. ECU is coming off a 21-point win over Central Florida, in which they were an underdog. So everything pointing towards taking ECU when you're getting better than a field goal on the road, especially when at a neutral site they project as a 1.5, or not a neutral site, at a home field they're 1.5, but in a neutral site they're actually 2-point favorites. So I like ECU in this game. The Sharps like ECU in this game. The Signals like ECU in this game. So got to go with it. Think it's the best bet. Think it's the best edge of the week.
And they're the Pirates. You always like to.
And they're the Pirates.
Back the Bucks. All right, ECU, the team that Michigan will open up with next year. How about that?
Correct.
All right.
Start watching the tape.
Lucas Reimink with the lock of the week.
Yeah, I'm going to go Wake Forest -3 against Louisville. My reasoning here is sort of just tiering of the ACC, like how I think it stacks up. And I think Clemson is at the top. I think there's a gap between them and Wake Forest, who I think is the second best team in the ACC. And I think there's another gap before it gets to sort of the mid-level ACC teams. And then there's the bottom of the ACC. And that's where I think Louisville is going to finish towards the end of this year. Scott Satterfield's on a little bit of a hot seat. They won 2 games in a row, but against like some of the other 2 worst teams in the ACC in Virginia and Pitt. I just don't trust Malik Cunningham enough to be able to cover a field goal, like sort of a short spread, even though it's at home against the Wake defense that has had their struggles. I think this game will probably be a shootout. The total is a little too high for me to touch, but I like Wake to cover the 3, and I trust Sam Hartman and their Wake offense a lot more than I trust Malik Cunningham and the Louisville offense. So I'll go Wake -3 and kind of a shootout.
Demon Deacons in a shootout. All right, we'll get you down there. I don't know if I've said this for, since the 20th century, but I'm really enjoying Big 12 football. They got a lot of exciting teams, and that's where I'm going for my lock. I'm taking TCU -7.5 at West Virginia. Yeah, they're playing on the road here, but the Mountaineers, you look at the number, they're giving up the most points in the Big 12. And if you look at TCU in their last, 4 games, 38, 43, 38, 55, those are all against ranked teams. They certainly were at the time. One of them, maybe Texas is falling out there that they, threw a big number on, but they just can't be stopped. And you've got a high octane offense, the number 1 offense in the Big 12 against the last place defense. To me, 7.5, that's not enough. I think they'll kill them by 20. So I'll take TCU all day long -7.5. That's my lock. To get over 500 on the locks, which is something I'm really hoping, and I will tout if that happens, of course. That's it.
As you should.
Yeah. All right, Justice. Over and under. I'm going to put it at 6 o'clock of you getting into the press box tomorrow. Lucas, you taking the over and under on that?
Over meaning he'll be late, or over meaning he'll be early?
Yeah, over if he's after 6 o'clock. That's over.
I'll go over. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he'll be hanging out.
I'm actually on the field tomorrow, shooting photos.
Oh,
there you go.
Different scenery,
Better get there early then, huh?
New perspective column this week.
Warm
on the field.
Dress warmly.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty nervous for that. I'm a baseball guy, so as you know, I'm not really accustomed to football weather. More of a press box guy during football games.
At least much of a chance in the World Series?
I think the Astros are going to win. They have stronger pitching.
They have much stronger pitching. Phillies can hit some home runs.
I would love for the Phillies to win because I'm a huge Bryce Harper guy. Personally, always have been. So for that sake, I would love for him to get it because I know the Nationals won as soon as he left and everyone kind of rained on his parade. But it would be a nice little redemption story for arguably the most prolific hitter of this generation to get a ring.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Your baseball cards will start flying off the shelves. You probably have a few Harpers sitting back there.
I have 2.
Oh, two. Okay, I was
just
thinking,
2. I did get this yesterday myself. Actually, I opened this myself. Oh, you're not gonna be able to see it because of the stupid camera setting I got. All right, get me out of here. I ruined the betting show with a sports card.
With a blurry. I'm gonna give you a 3 on that. I can't even tell who it is.
It's Cade.
PSA 3. All right, enjoy the game tomorrow, guys, and good luck with your selections. We'll talk to you next week. All right, there they are.